Chapter 1. The call. William Tanner was halfway through reheating leftover Thai food when his phone buzzed across the kitchen counter. He glanced at the screen, expecting a text from a coworker or maybe a spam call about his car warranty. Instead, it was Dad. He swiped to answer. "Hey Dad, what's up?" There was a pause, the kind that made William set down his fork. His father's voice came through, steady but tinged with worry. "Billy, you got a minute?" Billy. That name always pulled him back home, even when he was standing in his sleek apartment 200 miles away. "Yeah, sure. Everything okay?" Another pause. "It's your grandparents. The junkyard. It's not doing so good." William leaned against the counter, the hum of his refrigerator suddenly loud in the silence. "Not doing so good how?" "They're falling behind. Fuel costs, hauling fees, you name it. Your grandpa's not as quick as he used to be. He's still out there every day. But," his dad exhaled, "I'm worried, son. They've kept that place running for 50 years. It's their life." William rubbed his jaw, memories flashing. Rusted cars stacked like crooked dominoes. The smell of oil and sun-baked metal. Grandpa Tanner barking orders while Grandma handed out lemonade like it was liquid gold. "Have they said anything?" "You know them. Too proud to ask for help. But I can hear it in his voice. He's tired." William stared at the half-eaten pad thai, appetite gone. "What do you want me to do?" "I don't know." His dad's voice softened. "You're the one with the business degree. Maybe you could take a look? See if there's something we're missing." William hesitated. His calendar was packed. Quarterly reports, client meetings, but this wasn't about convenience. This was family. "I'll come down this weekend," he said finally. "I'll figure something out." Relief washed through his father's tone. "Thanks, Billy. He'll be happy to see you." After they hung up, William stood in his quiet kitchen, the city lights blinking through the window. He'd worked hard to build this life. College, career, independence. But the thought of his grandparents struggling twisted something deep inside him. They'd scraped and saved to help him through school. They'd believed in him before anyone else did. Now it was his turn. Chapter 2. Homecoming. The highway stretched like a ribbon of gray beneath William's tires, flanked by winter bare trees and the occasional billboard promising everything from miracle weight loss shakes to tractor sales. He hadn't driven this route in months, maybe a year, and yet every curve felt familiar, like muscle memory etched into asphalt. He rolled down the window, letting in the crisp January air. It smelled different here, cleaner somehow, tinged with smoke and nostalgia. The city had its charms, coffee shops on every corner, neon lights humming late into the night, but this stretch of road whispered of childhood summers, scraped knees, and Grandpa Tanner's booming laugh. By the time he hit the town limits, the sun was dipping low, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink. The welcome sign still leaned slightly to the left, as if it had given up on standing straight decades ago. "Welcome to Brookhaven. Population 4,212. Someone had scrawled a smiley face in permanent marker under the number. Small-town humor at its finest. William turned onto Maple Street, passing the diner where he'd spent countless afternoons nursing milkshakes with Amanda Perkins and the rest of the gang. The neon sign flickered like it always had, stubbornly refusing to die. He felt a pang of something, nostalgia maybe, or the faint ache of what if, but pushed it aside. He was here for a reason. His parents' house came into view, a two-story colonial with blue shutters and a porch swing that had seen better days. The driveway was crowded. His dad's pickup, his mom's SUV, and a familiar rust-red truck that could only belong to Grandpa Tanner. William smiled despite himself. Some things never changed. He barely had the car in park before the front door flew open and his mother barreled down the steps, arms outstretched. "Billy!" she cried, as if he were still 10 years old and coming home from summer camp. He laughed, letting her wrap him in a hug that smelled of lavender and home. "Hey, Mom. You look too thin," she said immediately, pulling back to inspect him like a jeweler examining a flawed diamond. "Are you eating? You're eating, right?" "Mom, I'm fine," William said, grinning. "I had Thai food last night." "Thai food," she muttered, as if that were code for starvation. "Come inside. Your dad's in the kitchen." The warmth of the house hit him like a wave. Roast beef in the oven, cinnamon rolls cooling on the counter, and the faint hum of the old grandfather clock in the hall. His dad looked up from the table, grinning wide. "Billy boy." He stood, clapping William on the back with enough force to rattle his teeth. "Good to see you." "You too, Dad." William glanced around. "Where's Grandma and Grandpa?" "Out back," his dad said, jerking a thumb toward the sliding door. "Probably arguing over scrap metal." William chuckled. Some things never change. He stepped outside, the cold biting at his cheeks. The backyard was a patchwork of frost and stubborn grass, leading to the old workshop that had been Grandpa Tanner's kingdom for as long as William could remember. Sure enough, the door was open, light spilling out, and voices carried on the wind. "I told you that alternator's worth something." Grandpa Tanner's voice, gruff and indignant. "And I told you it's junk." Grandma Tanner shot back, her tone sharp enough to cut steel. "You've got a whole yard full of worth something, and none of it's paying the bills." William grinned, leaning against the doorframe. Sounds like business as usual. Two heads swiveled toward him. Grandpa Tanner's face split into a grin beneath his white whiskers. Billy, well, I'll be damned. Look at you, all grown up and fancy. Fancy? William laughed, stepping inside. I'm wearing jeans. College boy jeans, Grandpa said, pulling him into a hug that smelled of motor oil and peppermint. Good to see you, kid. Grandma Tanner was next, her hug softer but no less fierce. You didn't tell me you were coming, she scolded, though her eyes shone. I'd have baked a pie. I'll take a rain check, William said, smiling. Dad called. Said you might need a hand. Grandpa Tanner snorted. Hand? What I need is a miracle. William glanced around the workshop. Tools scattered, parts piled high. The air thick with the scent of grease and determination. Maybe I can help with that. Grandpa raised a bushy brow. You got a magic wand in that fancy car of yours? Not exactly, William said, grinning. But I've got some ideas. Grandma Tanner crossed her arms. Ideas don't pay the electric bill. True, William said, meeting her gaze. But if we play this right, they might. Grandpa Tanner leaned back against the workbench, arms folded. All right, college boy, let's hear it. William took a breath, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. This wasn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This was about family, legacy, and the stubborn pride of a man who'd built something from nothing. He owed them more than words. I'll need to look at the yard, he said finally. See what we're working with. Grandpa Tanner's eyes twinkled. You mean the kingdom? William smiled. Exactly. Chapter 3. The plan. The next morning dawned cold and clear, the kind of winter day that made metal gleam like silver under the sun. William pulled on his old work boots, the same pair he'd worn as a teenager hauling scrap, and stepped out into the crisp air. The junkyard sprawled before him like a kingdom of rust and forgotten stories, 5 acres of twisted steel, dented fenders, and relics of lives long past. He paused at the gate, inhaling deeply. The scent was familiar. Oil, dust, and something faintly sweet, like old rubber baking in the sun. It wasn't glamorous, but it was home in its own way. Grandpa Tanner was already out there, perched on the seat of his crane truck like a monarch surveying his realm. He waved when he saw William. Morning, Billy. Ready to get your hands dirty? William grinned. Always. He climbed into the yard, boots crunching over gravel. Cars sat in uneven rows, their paint faded, windows shattered. Appliances leaned against one another like drunks at closing time. And everywhere was potential. William didn't see junk. He saw copper wiring coiled inside busted air conditioners. He saw aluminum frames waiting to be melted down. He saw brass fittings, steel panels, even the guts of old computers that could fetch a decent price if stripped and sorted. It was chaos, yes, but chaos with value. Grandpa Tanner rumbled up beside him in the crane truck. What do you think, college boy? Still looks like junk to me. William smiled faintly. Depends on how you look at it. Oh, Grandpa raised a bushy brow. Enlighten me. William crouched beside a heap of discarded electronics, tapping a rusted computer tower. This is not trash. It's copper, aluminum, maybe even a little gold in the connectors. Multiply that by everything out here, and you've got thousands of dollars sitting in the dirt. Grandpa snorted. If you say so, but it ain't gonna walk itself to the bank. No, William agreed, standing. That's where the plan comes in. Grandpa Tanner killed the engine and climbed down, boots thudding against the gravel. All right, let's hear it. William took a breath, scanning the yard as he spoke. First, we organize. Separate metals by type, copper, aluminum, brass, steel. Then we invest in a small furnace, melted down into ingots, stamped and ready for sale. Grandpa's eyes narrowed. Ingots, huh? Haven't done that in years. You still know how, William said with a grin. And we'll make it easier. Automated machines for sorting cans, bins for electronics, even a pickup service for industrial scrap. People pay us to haul their junk, we profit twice. Once for the service, once for the raw materials. Grandpa Tanner scratched his chin, expression shifting from skepticism to something like intrigue. Sounds fancy. It's practical, William said. And it works. I've seen companies do it on a bigger scale. We can start small, grow from there. Grandpa let out a low whistle. You really think this'll save the yard? William met his gaze. I don't just think it'll save it. I think it'll make it better than ever. For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant caw of a crow. Then Grandpa Tanner chuckled, deep and warm. You've got your grandma's stubborn streak. You know that? William grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. Grandpa clapped him on the shoulder, hard enough to make him stagger. All right, Billy boy, let's see what you've got. They spent the next few hours walking the yard, William jotting notes in a battered notebook while Grandpa pointed out the quirks of his kingdom. Some cars were too far gone, but others had parts worth salvaging. Old appliances could be stripped for wiring. Even the mountain of soda cans behind the shed had potential. By noon, William's head buzzed with ideas and numbers. He could see the operation in his mind. Neat rows of sorted scrap, a furnace glowing in the workshop, ingots stacked like bricks of promise. It wouldn't be easy, but it was possible. As they headed back toward the house for lunch, William's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen and froze. Amanda Perkins. The name hit him like a jolt, stirring memories he'd tucked away years ago. Sunlit afternoons at the diner. Late-night talks under the stars. Her laugh, bright, unguarded, echoing in his mind. He thumbed the message open. "Hey stranger, heard you're back in town. Coffee later." William stared at the words, heart thudding. He hadn't seen Amanda in years. Not since college, when life had pulled them in different directions. She was his best friend once, and his secret crush always. He typed back before he could overthink it. "Wouldn't miss it." "Where?" Her reply came quick. "Bean and brew. 3 p.m. William slipped the phone into his pocket, pulse racing. He told himself it was just coffee, just catching up. But deep down, he knew better. Chapter 4. An unexpected encounter. The Bean and Brew sat on the corner of Main Street, its windows fogged from the warmth inside and the scent of roasted coffee beans drifting out every time the door opened. William pushed through the glass door at exactly 3 o'clock, the bell above jingling like a cheerful announcement. He scanned the room, heart thudding harder than he cared to admit. And then he saw her. Amanda Perkins was seated at a corner table, a steaming mug cradled in her hands. Her hair was pulled back in a loose bun, a few strands escaping to frame her face, and she wore a soft gray sweater that looked as comfortable as it did stylish. She glanced up and smiled. That smile hit him like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Billy Tanner," she said, rising to her feet. "I thought you were a myth." William grinned, crossing the room. "And I thought you were too busy saving the world to have coffee." Amanda laughed, the sound warm and familiar. "Sit down before I start listing all the reasons you've been a terrible friend." He slid into the chair opposite her, shrugging off his jacket. "Fair warning, I'm prepared to plead guilty." She tilted her head, studying him with those sharp hazel eyes that had always seen more than he wanted to admit. "You look different." "Good different or bad different?" he asked, half teasing, half curious. "Good," she said, smiling. "Older, wiser, maybe a little tired." William chuckled. "That's what happens when you join the corporate grind." Amanda sipped her coffee, eyes never leaving his. "So what brings you back to Brookhaven? Don't tell me you missed the diner's meatloaf." "Tempting," William said, leaning back. "But no, family stuff. My grandparents' junkyard is in trouble." Amanda's expression softened. "I'm sorry to hear that. They've had that place forever." 52 years, William said. "It's more than a business. It's their life. I'm trying to figure out how to keep it afloat." Amanda nodded slowly. "That sounds big." "It is," William admitted. "But I've got a plan. Just need to make it work." She smiled faintly. "Always the problem solver." William grinned. "And you? Still running social services?" Amanda sighed, setting her mug down. "Trying to. It's a mess. Too many people, not enough resources. I've been dreaming about starting a program for low-income families. Something practical: budgeting, meal planning, job prep. But dreams don't pay for staff or space." William leaned forward, intrigued. "That's a great idea." "It's a nice idea," Amanda corrected. "Reality is harder." "Maybe not," William said slowly. "What if we could make it real?" Amanda raised a brow. "You have a magic wand I don't know about?" "Not exactly," William said, smiling. "But I've got a junkyard." Amanda blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" He laughed. "Hear me out. I'm turning the yard into a recycling hub. Sorting, melting, selling metals. It's going to need workers, training, organization. Your program could fit right in." Amanda stared at him, then laughed. A bright, surprised sound that made his chest tighten. "Billy Tanner, are you suggesting we turn your grandparents' junkyard into a community center?" "Not exactly," William said, grinning. "But maybe something close." Amanda shook her head, still smiling. "You haven't changed." "Is that good?" he asked. She met his gaze, eyes warm. "It's familiar." For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled with the hum of conversation and the hiss of the espresso machine. William felt the weight of years, the missed chances, the paths not taken, and wondered if maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. Amanda broke the silence first. "So, coffee was nice. But if you're serious about this crazy idea, we should talk more." William smiled. "I'm serious." "Then let's meet tomorrow," she said, standing and pulling on her coat. "I want to see this junkyard of yours." William rose too, heart thudding. "Deal." As she walked toward the door, she glanced back, her smile lingering like a promise. "It's good to have you home, Billy." And just like that, she was gone, leaving William standing in the warm glow of the coffee shop, wondering how a simple cup of coffee had turned his world upside down. Chapter 5. Sparks and schemes. William woke early the next morning, his mind buzzing with numbers, logistics, and, if he was honest, Amanda Perkins. He'd spent half the night replaying their conversation at the coffee shop, the way her laugh had slipped past his defenses like sunlight through blinds. It wasn't just nostalgia. There was something electric there, something that made him feel like the kid who used to dream big under the summer stars. But first things first, the junkyard. He found Grandpa Tanner in the workshop, hunched over a battered carburetor like it held the secrets of the universe. Grandma Tanner was at the counter, rolling out biscuit dough with the kind of precision that could intimidate a surgeon. "Morning," William said, grabbing a mug and pouring coffee. "Hope you're ready for a pitch." Grandpa grunted without looking up. "If it involves selling my soul, I'm out." William grinned. "No soul selling required. Just a little modernization." Grandma Tanner snorted. "Modernization? Last time someone said that, we ended up with a microwave that nearly burned down the kitchen." William laughed, setting his mug down. "This is different. I've been crunching numbers. If we reorganize the yard, sort metals, and invest in a small furnace, we can melt scrap into ingots. Sell them to industrial buyers. It's cleaner, faster, and way more profitable." Grandpa finally looked up, bushy brows drawn together. "Ingots, huh? Haven't done that since '92. "You still know how," William said, "and we'll make it easier. Automated machines for cans, bins for electronics, even a pickup service for big stuff. People pay us to haul their junk, and we profit twice." Grandma Tanner wiped her hands on her apron, eyes sharp. "Sounds expensive." "It'll take some investment," William admitted. "But I've got savings. And if we do this right, we'll turn things around." Grandpa leaned back, stroking his chin. "You really think this'll work?" William met his gaze. "I don't just think it'll work. I think it'll make this place better than ever." For a moment silence stretched. Then Grandma Tanner spoke, voice softer. "You do all that? For us?" William smiled. "For family." Grandpa Tanner's eyes twinkled. "Well, hell, let's give it a shot." By mid-morning, William was knee-deep in scrap, sketching diagrams in his notebook while Grandpa muttered about fancy college ideas. He was marking zones for sorting. Copper here, aluminum there, when a voice called from the gate. "Billy Tanner? Are you hiding in a pile of junk?" William turned and froze. Amanda stood at the entrance, hands tucked into the pockets of her coat, cheeks pink from the cold. She looked like a breath of fresh air against the backdrop of rust and steel. "Not hiding," William said, grinning. "Strategizing." She walked toward him, boots crunching over gravel. "So this is the famous junkyard." "Kingdom," William corrected. "According to Grandpa." Amanda laughed, glancing around. "It's bigger than I remember." 5 acres of opportunity," William said, spreading his arms. "Or chaos, depending on your perspective." "Opportunity, huh?" Amanda raised a brow. "Show me." He led her through the yard, explaining his vision: sorting stations, melting furnace, pickup service. Amanda listened, eyes bright, asking sharp questions that made him think harder about logistics. Finally, they stopped near the old crane truck, its paint peeling like sunburned skin. Amanda leaned against the bumper, smiling. "You're serious about this?" "Dead serious," William said. "And I think your program could fit right in." Amanda tilted her head. "You really think teaching people to budget and job hunt belongs in a junkyard?" "I think giving people real work and real skills beats a pamphlet any day," William said. "We train them here, sorting, processing, managing inventory. They earn a paycheck while learning how to run a business." Amanda's eyes widened. "That's actually brilliant." William grinned. "I have my moments." She laughed, shaking her head. "You always did." For a beat, they just stood there, the winter sun glinting off rusted metal, the air humming with possibility, and something else. Something that made William's pulse quicken. Amanda broke the spell first. "All right, Billy Tanner, let's make a deal. You save this junkyard, and I'll bring the people." William smiled. "Deal." As she turned to leave, Grandpa Tanner's voice boomed from across the yard. "Billy, who's the pretty girl?" William groaned. "Grandpa." Amanda laughed, cheeks pink. "See you soon, Billy." And just like that, she was gone, leaving William grinning like an idiot while Grandpa ambled over, smirking. "Pretty girl," Grandpa said, elbowing him. "You gonna marry her or what?" William rolled his eyes. "Grandpa." But deep down, he wasn't so sure the old man was wrong. Chapter 6. Building Bridges. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. William spent his mornings knee-deep in scrap metal, sketching diagrams and calculating costs, and his afternoons fielding calls to suppliers about furnaces and sorting machines. Every time he thought he had a moment to breathe, Grandpa Tanner would appear with a new, brilliant idea, usually involving duct tape and sheer stubbornness. But today was different. Today, Amanda was coming to the junkyard, not just for a quick look, but to start planning how her program could fit into William's vision. William checked his watch for the 3rd time, brushing rust flakes off his jeans. He'd cleared a space in the workshop, set up a folding table, and even found a half-decent coffee maker buried under a pile of old carburetors. It wasn't fancy, but it was something. The crunch of tires on gravel made him glance up. Amanda's car rolled through the gate, sunlight glinting off the windshield. She stepped out, her coat cinched at the waist, hair loose around her shoulders. William felt his pulse kick up a notch. "Hope you brought a hard hat," he called, grinning. Amanda smirked. "Do I need one?" "Only if Grandpa decides to start welding," William said. "Come on in." She followed him into the workshop, eyes sweeping over the organized chaos. You've been busy. Trying to make this place look less like a scrapyard and more like a business, William said, handing her a mug of coffee. Cream and sugar. Black, Amanda said, taking the cup. So, show me what you've got. William spread his notebook across the table, pages filled with diagrams and bullet points. Here's the plan. Sorting stations for metals, a furnace for melting, bins for electronics. We'll sell ingots to industrial buyers. And this is where you come in. We'll hire and train people through your program. Amanda leaned over the notebook, her brow furrowing as she scanned the notes. You're serious about this? Dead serious, William said. We give people real work, real skills. They learn inventory, safety, even basic accounting. It's practical. Amanda nodded slowly. I like it, but we'll need structure, curriculum, mentors, maybe partnerships with local businesses. William grinned. That's your department. Amanda laughed, shaking her head. You always did rope me into your schemes. Schemes? William feigned offense. This is a revolution. She rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered. You know, this could actually work. Could, William teased. I was hoping for will. Amanda met his gaze, her expression softening. It will, if we do it together. For a moment, the air shifted. The hum of the old refrigerator faded. The clatter of tools outside seemed distant. William felt something settle in his chest, a quiet certainty that this wasn't just about saving a junkyard. It was about building something bigger, something that mattered. Grandpa Tanner chose that exact moment to burst through the door, wiping grease from his hands. Billy, who's the lady? William groaned. Grandpa. Amanda laughed, extending a hand. Amanda Perkins. Grandpa shook it warmly, eyes twinkling. Pretty name for a pretty girl. You here to keep my grandson out of trouble? Amanda smiled. Trying. Grandpa winked. Good luck with that. William shot him a look, but Grandpa was already ambling off, muttering about carburetors. Amanda chuckled, sipping her coffee. He hasn't changed. Not even a little, William said, grinning. Come on. I'll show you the yard. They spent the next hour walking the property, Amanda snapping photos for her proposal while William explained the logistics. At one point, she climbed onto the crane truck for a better angle, laughing when the seat squeaked under her. You know, she said, balancing on the edge, this could be fun. William looked up at her, sunlight catching in her hair, and thought, not for the first time, that he was in trouble. Chapter 7. The first date that wasn't. William was elbow deep in a box of tangled copper wires when his phone buzzed. He wiped his hands on a rag and glanced at the screen. Amanda Perkins. He grinned before he even opened the message. Dinner tonight? To talk business. 7 p.m. The Rusty Fork. William stared at the words, pulse quickening. Dinner. Business. Sure. He typed back. Sounds good. I'll be there. The Rusty Fork was Brookhaven's idea of fine dining. A converted farmhouse with mismatched chairs, a chalkboard menu, and a neon sign that flickered like it was powered by hope alone. William arrived early, because he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about business. Amanda was already there, seated at a corner table under a string of Edison bulbs. She looked effortlessly put together in a navy blouse and jeans, her hair loose around her shoulders. William felt his breath hitch. Billy Tanner, she said, smiling as he approached. You clean up nice. William grinned, sliding into the chair opposite her. You're not so bad yourself. She laughed, handing him a menu. So, business first. Then we can gossip. Fair, William said, though his brain was already struggling to focus on anything but the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled. They ordered steak for him, salmon for her, and dove into plans. Amanda outlined her vision for the program, budgeting workshops, job prep, even parenting classes. William countered with logistics, training schedules, payroll, safety protocols. It was sharp, productive, and, if he was honest, fun. Until the lights went out. The entire restaurant plunged into darkness, followed by a collective groan from the diners. Someone muttered about the power grid, and a waitress appeared with a box of candles like this was a regular occurrence. Amanda laughed, the sound bright in the dim glow. Small town charm. William grinned. Adds ambience. They ate by candlelight, their conversation shifting from business to memories, high school football games, late-night milkshakes at the diner, the time Amanda convinced him to join the drama club just so she wouldn't have to audition alone. You were terrible, she teased, sipping her wine. I was a visionary, William said solemnly. Ahead of my time. Amanda laughed so hard she nearly spilled her glass. William watched her, warmth blooming in his chest. He'd forgotten how easy it was with her, how laughter came like breathing. The lights flickered back on just as the waitress brought dessert. A single slice of chocolate cake because, apparently, the kitchen had run out of everything else. Amanda raised an eyebrow. Romantic, she said. William smirked. First date vibes. Amanda froze for half a second, then smiled slowly. First date. William felt heat creep up his neck. I mean business dinner. Totally professional. Sure, Amanda said, her smile turning mischievous. Totally. They lingered long after the plates were cleared, talking about everything and nothing. When they finally stepped outside, the night was crisp, stars scattered like diamonds across the sky. Amanda pulled her coat tighter. "Thanks for dinner, Billy." "Thanks for saying yes," William said softly. She hesitated, then leaned in and kissed his cheek. A quick, warm brush that left him standing there like someone had unplugged his brain. "See you tomorrow," she said, smiling as she walked to her car. William watched her go, heart pounding, and thought, if that wasn't a date, I don't know what is. Chapter 8. Trouble in Paradise. The honeymoon phase of their plan lasted exactly 1 week. By the second Monday, William was staring at his laptop in the workshop, a spreadsheet glowing like a neon sign of doom. Numbers didn't lie, and these numbers were ugly. The furnace supplier had emailed that morning. Unexpected delays due to shipping issues. Translation: no furnace for at least 6 weeks. Add to that the rising cost of scrap hauling permits and the fact that the bank was dragging its feet on approving his small business loan, and William felt like someone had pulled the rug out from under him. He rubbed his temples, muttering under his breath, "Perfect, just perfect." As if on cue, Amanda walked in, her boots crunching over the gravel outside before she appeared in the doorway. She was carrying a folder stuffed with papers, her expression bright, until she saw his face. "Oh," she said, setting the folder down. "That's your, I just read bad news look." William sighed. "You're good at reading faces." "I'm good at reading yours," Amanda said softly. "What happened?" He swiveled the laptop toward her. "Furnace delayed. Loan approval stuck in limbo. And the permit fees? Higher than I budgeted." Amanda scanned the screen, her brow furrowing. "That's not great." "No kidding," William said, leaning back. "I thought I had this under control." Amanda pulled out a chair and sat, her voice calm. "Okay, we'll figure it out." William shook his head. "You've got enough on your plate. I saw your email about the grant application. You're still short on funding." Amanda hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, the board wants more proof of sustainability, which is hard to provide when our entire plan hinges on your junkyard revolution." The words stung more than they should have. William felt his jaw tighten. "So now this is my fault?" Amanda blinked. "Billy, that's not what I meant." "Sounds like it," he said, standing too quickly. "I'm doing everything I can here." "I know you are," Amanda said, rising to meet his gaze. "But so am I. We're supposed to be partners." "Partners," William repeated, the word sharp. "Right?" For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy and brittle. Outside, the wind rattled a stack of aluminum sheets like bones clattering in the cold. Amanda's voice softened. "Billy, I didn't mean to blame you." William exhaled, the fight draining out of him as fast as it had flared. "I know. I'm just frustrated." Amanda stepped closer, her eyes searching his. "Me too." For a heartbeat, they stood there, the tension humming like a live wire. Then Amanda reached out, her fingers brushing his arm. A small gesture, but enough to ground him. "We'll figure it out," she said quietly. "Together." William looked at her, really looked at her, the determination in her eyes, the warmth beneath the worry, and felt something shift. This wasn't just about business. It never had been. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, together." Amanda smiled, a little tired but still bright. "Good, because I've got an idea." William raised a brow. "Should I be scared?" "Probably," Amanda said, grinning. "But it might just save us." Chapter 9. The turning point. Amanda's idea was bold, maybe even a little crazy. But as William listened, he felt the first flicker of hope in days. "We make it a community project," Amanda said, pacing the workshop like a general plotting a campaign. "Not just a business, not just a program, a partnership with the town." William raised a brow. "You mean volunteers?" "Volunteers, donations, local sponsors," Amanda said, her eyes bright. "People want to feel useful. They want to help. We give them a reason." William leaned against the workbench, skeptical but intrigued. "And what's the reason?" Amanda stopped pacing, her voice steady. "We tell them the truth. This junkyard isn't just scrap. It's a lifeline. For my program. For jobs. For families who need a second chance." William stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. It wasn't just about saving his grandparents' business anymore. It was about saving people. "Think they'll buy it?" he asked softly. Amanda smiled. "They won't just buy it. They'll own it." By the end of the week, Brookhaven was buzzing. Amanda had rallied her network, church groups, local businesses, even the high school shop class. Flyers went up in the diner and the grocery store. Social media posts spread like wildfire. "Help save Tanner's junkyard and build a future." Saturday morning, William stood at the gate, stunned as cars rolled in one after another. People spilled out carrying gloves, toolboxes, even homemade sandwiches. Grandpa Tanner looked like someone had handed him a winning lottery ticket. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered, watching a group of teenagers unload a stack of old tires. "You two stirred up a hornet's nest." William grinned. "The good kind." Amanda appeared at his side, clipboard in hand, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "We've got 30 volunteers signed in already. and the diner donated lunch. William shook his head, smiling. You're incredible. Amanda shot him a look, playful and warm. You're not so bad yourself. The day unfolded like magic. People sorted scrap into neat piles, hauled appliances, and cleared space for the furnace that would arrive. Eventually, Amanda organized workshops under a makeshift tent, teaching budgeting basics while William demonstrated how to strip copper from old wiring. Laughter mingled with the clang of metal, and for the first time in weeks, William felt the weight on his shoulders lift. Late in the afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the yard in gold, William found Amanda near the crane truck, jotting notes. Her hair had escaped its ponytail, curling around her face, and there was a smudge of grease on her cheek. You look like you've been in a war zone, he teased. Amanda grinned. A very productive war zone. William reached out without thinking, brushing the smudge from her cheek. His fingers lingered for a heartbeat too long, and when their eyes met, the air shifted, charged, electric. Amanda's breath hitched. Billy! Before he could answer, Grandpa Tanner's voice boomed across the yard. Billy boy, quit flirting and help me with this engine block. Amanda laughed, stepping back, her cheeks pink. Saved by the bell. William groaned. Grandpa has the worst timing. Amanda smiled, her eyes soft. Maybe the best. As the volunteers packed up and the yard settled into quiet, William stood watching the sunset, Amanda at his side. The junkyard looked different now, organized, alive, full of promise. And so did his life. He glanced at her, heart thudding. Amanda, thank you. She met his gaze, her smile gentle. We're just getting started. And William knew, with a certainty that startled him, that she wasn't talking about the junkyard. Chapter 10. The big day. The morning of the launch dawned bright and cold, sunlight glinting off the freshly organized rows of scrap like a promise. William stood at the gate of Tanner's junkyard, heart thudding as cars began to roll in. Families, local business owners, even the mayor in a suit that looked wildly out of place among rusted fenders and steel beams. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. What had once been a chaotic sprawl of forgotten metal now looked like a well-oiled operation. Sorting stations marked with bold signs, bins for electronics lined up like soldiers, and a gleaming furnace in the workshop ready to turn scrap into ingots. Amanda's program tent stood proudly near the entrance, its banner fluttering in the breeze. Building futures together, William adjusted his jacket, scanning the crowd. Volunteers from last week mingled with curious townsfolk, laughter mingling with the clang of tools. Grandpa Tanner was in his element, booming greetings and telling anyone who'd listen that he'd taught Billy everything he knows. Grandma Tanner handed out cookies like a general distributing rations. And then William saw her. Amanda stood near the tent, clipboard in hand, her hair catching the sunlight like spun gold. She wore a simple green coat and boots dusted with gravel. But to William, she looked like the most beautiful thing in the yard. His chest tightened. He made his way over, weaving through clusters of people. You ready for this? He asked, grinning. Amanda looked up, her smile bright and steady. Ready as I'll ever be. You? Terrified, William admitted. But in a good way. She laughed, the sound warm against the winter air. You're going to do great. Before he could reply, the mayor stepped up to the microphone near the tent, clearing his throat with theatrical gravity. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today to celebrate a new chapter for Tanner's Junkyard and for Brookhaven. Applause rippled through the crowd. William felt Amanda's hand brush his arm, a small, grounding touch that sent a jolt through him. The mayor droned on about community and innovation, but William barely heard him. He was too busy watching Amanda, her focus, her passion, the way she lit up when he caught her eye. He realized, with startling clarity, that this wasn't just about saving a business. It was about building a life, and he wanted her in it. The ribbon cutting was pure small-town theater. Grandpa Tanner wielding the oversized scissors like a sword, Amanda laughing as the crowd cheered. Cameras flashed, kids darted between piles of scrap, and the smell of barbecue from the food truck mingled with the scent of fresh paint on the new signs. By late afternoon, the yard hummed with energy. Volunteers demonstrated sorting techniques, Amanda led a budgeting workshop under the tent, and William gave a tour to a local reporter who kept calling him Brookhaven's recycling hero. He tried not to blush. When the crowd finally thinned and the sun dipped low, William found Amanda near the furnace, packing up her materials. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, her hair tousled, and she looked tired, but happy. Big day, he said softly. Amanda smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Huge day. You did it, Billy. We did it, he corrected. Couldn't have done this without you. She met his gaze, her smile fading into something softer, deeper. I'm glad I was here. For a moment, the world seemed to narrow to just the two of them. The hum of the furnace, the glow of the setting sun, the quiet thrum of possibility. William felt his heart hammering, words rising like a tide he couldn't hold back. Amanda, he swallowed hard. I need to tell you something. Her eyes searched his, wide and unguarded. What is it? William took a breath, the weight of weeks, years, settling into the single moment. I think I've been in love with you since we were kids. And I'm pretty sure I never stopped. Amanda blinked, stunned into silence. Then, slowly, a smile curved her lips, soft, radiant, and just a little mischievous. Took you long enough, she whispered. Before William could respond, she stepped closer, her hands sliding into his, and kissed him warm, sure, and full of everything he'd been afraid to hope for. When they broke apart, breathless and grinning, Grandpa Tanner's voice rang out from across the yard. Well, it's about damn time. Amanda laughed against William's shoulder, and he couldn't help but join her, because for the first time in a long time, everything felt exactly right. Chapter 11. Confession Aftermath. By the time William and Amanda walked back toward the house, hand in hand, the junkyard was quiet. The volunteers had gone home, the furnace hummed softly in the workshop, and the winter sky was streaked with violet and gold. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't, because William knew what was waiting inside, his family. And if Grandpa Tanner's booming declaration earlier was any indication, the man had already spread the news like wildfire. Sure enough, the moment they stepped through the back door, Grandma Tanner looked up from the kitchen table, her eyes sharp and knowing. Well, she said, folding her arms. About time. William groaned. Grandma. His mother appeared from the pantry, carrying a tray of cookies like a weapon. Billy Tanner, you didn't tell me you were bringing Amanda for dinner. Amanda flushed, smiling nervously. Hi, Mrs. Tanner. Oh, don't you Mrs. Tanner me? His mom said, setting the tray down with a thud. You've been like family since high school. Sit, eat, tell me everything. William shot Amanda an apologetic look as they were herded to the table. His dad wandered in next, grinning like a man who'd just won a bet. So, son, you finally figured it out, huh? William rubbed the back of his neck. Figured what out? That you've been mooning over Amanda Perkins since you were 15, his dad said cheerfully. Your grandpa owes me $20. Amanda laughed, covering her mouth with her hand. You guys really don't hold back, do you? Grandpa Tanner stomped in from the workshop, grease on his hands and triumph in his eyes. Told you he'd come to his senses eventually. Took him long enough. William groaned again. Can we not make this a town hall meeting? Too late, Grandma said, sliding a plate of cookies toward Amanda. Half the town already knows. Your grandpa posted it on Facebook. William's head snapped up. He what? Grandpa shrugged. People like good news. Amanda laughed so hard she nearly choked on a cookie. William stared at her, torn between mortification and awe. She was glowing, cheeks pink, eyes bright, and somehow, even in the chaos, he felt happy. Really, truly happy. Later, when the teasing had died down and Amanda was helping Grandma pack leftovers, William stepped out onto the porch for a breath of cold air. The night was quiet, stars scattered across the sky like glitter. He heard the door creak and turned to see Amanda joining him, her coat pulled tight against the chill. Sorry about the ambush, William said, smiling sheepishly. Amanda grinned. Are you kidding? That was the most fun I've had in weeks. He chuckled, leaning against the railing. They're a lot. They're wonderful, Amanda said softly. You're lucky. William looked at her, the porch light casting a halo around her hair. I know. For a moment, silence stretched, comfortable, warm. Then Amanda slipped her hand into his, her fingers fitting like they'd always belonged there. So, she said, her voice teasing. What happens now? William squeezed her hand, his smile slow and certain. Now, we build something. The yard. Your program. Us. Amanda's eyes softened. Us. And under the starlit sky, with laughter still echoing from inside, William Tanner realized that for the first time in years, he wasn't just fixing something broken. He was building something that could last. Chapter 12. A new chapter. Spring crept into Brookhaven like a shy guest, painting the junkyard in soft light and coaxing green shoots from the stubborn earth. William stood at the edge of the lot, hands on his hips, surveying what had become a small empire of order and purpose. Gone were the chaotic piles of rust and forgotten appliances. In their place stood neat rows of sorted scrap, bins labeled in bold letters, and a furnace that glowed like a promise in the workshop. Stacks of stamped ingots gleamed under the sun, copper, aluminum, steel, each one a testament to hard work and second chances. And it wasn't just the yard that had changed. Amanda's program had taken root like wildflowers after rain. Twice a week, the tent near the entrance buzzed with activity. Young parents learning to budget, teens practicing interview skills, volunteers teaching basic mechanics. The junkyard had become more than a business. It was a lifeline, a place where dignity and opportunity grew side by side. William watched as Amanda crossed the yard, her hair catching the breeze, a clipboard tucked under her arm. She was laughing with a group of trainees, her voice bright and warm, and for a moment, William felt something swell in his chest, something bigger than pride, bigger than relief. Love. Simple, steady, undeniable. She reached him, cheeks flushed from the sun. We just placed 2 more people in jobs, she said, grinning. 1 at the hardware store, 1 at the diner. William smiled. That's amazing. Amanda tilted her head, studying him. You look happy. I am, William said softly. Because of you. Her smile softened, and for a heartbeat, the noise of the yard faded. The clang of metal, the hum of machinery, the chatter of voices. It was just them, standing in the sunlight, the future stretching wide and bright. That evening, they sat on the porch swing at his parents' house, the air sweet with the scent of lilacs. Grandma Tanner had insisted on a celebration dinner, which had turned into a full-blown feast complete with pie, laughter, and Grandpa loudly declaring that William owed him grandkids before his knees gave out. Amanda had laughed so hard she nearly cried. William had turned the color of ripe tomatoes. Now, in the quiet aftermath, Amanda leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. Your family is something else. William chuckled. You have no idea. Amanda smiled, her fingers lacing with his. I like them. They like you, William said. Maybe a little too much. Amanda laughed softly, then grew quiet, her voice gentle. Billy, do you ever think about what's next? William turned his head, meeting her gaze. Every day. And? She asked, her eyes searching his. He squeezed her hand, his answer steady and sure. Next is building this together. The yard. Your program. A life. With you. Amanda's breath caught, and then she smiled. A smile that felt like sunrise. I like that plan. William grinned, leaning in to kiss her, slow and certain, as the porch swing creaked beneath them and the stars blinked awake overhead. Chapter 13. Epilogue. 6 months later. Tanner's junkyard didn't look like a junkyard anymore. It looked like a small industrial hub, organized, efficient, and humming with life. Trucks rolled in daily, dropping off scrap that volunteers and trainees sorted with practiced ease. The furnace glowed steadily in the workshop, turning metal into neat stacks of stamped ingots ready for shipment. A new sign hung proudly at the gate. Tanner Recycling and Community Works, building futures together. William stood near the entrance, clipboard in hand, watching as a group of trainees loaded aluminum onto a flatbed. Amanda was across the yard, laughing with a young mother who had just completed her budgeting course. Her program had grown beyond the tent. It now had a dedicated office space in town, funded by a grant that came through after the launch event. She was hiring staff, expanding classes, and planning partnerships with local businesses. Life was good, better than good. It was everything William had hoped for and more. That evening, the Tanner family gathered for a backyard barbecue to celebrate the yard's success. The smell of grilled burgers mingled with the sweet scent of Grandma's peach cobbler, and laughter floated under the string lights draped across the porch. Amanda sat beside William at the picnic table, her hand resting lightly on his knee. They'd been inseparable since that kiss on launch day, partners in business, partners in life. The town had adjusted quickly, though not without its share of gossip. About time, was the general consensus. Grandpa Tanner stood at the head of the table, a glass of sweet tea raised high like it was champagne. His voice boomed over the chatter. Ladies and gentlemen, he declared, I've got a toast. The table quieted, all eyes on him. Grandpa cleared his throat with theatrical gravity. To family, he began. To hard work, to turning rust into gold. And most importantly, his eyes twinkled as he looked at William and Amanda. To grandkids. Sooner rather than later, if you please. William groaned, burying his face in his hands as laughter erupted around the table. Amanda squeezed his knee, her smile wicked. Better start planning, she whispered. William peeked at her through his fingers, grinning despite himself. You're enjoying this way too much. Absolutely, Amanda said, her eyes dancing. Grandpa raised his glass again. To Billy and Amanda. May your future be as bright as this yard and twice as profitable. The cheer that followed was loud enough to scare the neighbor's dog. William looked around at the faces he loved, his parents, his grandparents, Amanda, and felt a swell of gratitude so big it nearly knocked the breath out of him. He leaned close to Amanda, his voice low and certain. I think we're going to be okay. Amanda smiled, her fingers lacing with his. Better than okay. And as the string lights glowed and laughter filled the night, William Tanner knew that coming home had given him more than a second chance. It had given him everything.